Hello beautifuls, this is Aromie here and welcome back to Seduce Me 2. So we figured that Damien actually never had his powers gone. It's just been like in hibernation in a way. A lot.
Who said we gave a damn about you?
Sam stepped up to Diana, leaning nose to nose with her. His anger flared around his body, giving an intimidating warning that didn't seem to faze her.
You fucked over our brother. You don't give a shit about what happened because of your fuck up. You're gonna fix this, or else.
That's enough, Sam.
Eric seemed seemingly the only sensible one of the group of incubi, grabbed onto Sam's shoulder and pulled him away from Diana. Sam gave in, still glaring at the succubus before sitting down beside his wife on the bench. I, however, became torn. What was going to happen now? Damien was a demon again and was getting his powers back, yet Damien didn't want his powers back at all, even at the risk of being the odd brother out. This entire situation became a conglomerate. That's a big word. Mess of uncertainty and confusion that I had to lower my head and close my eyes for a moment. Diana wiped her eyes, letting out a small sigh before she glanced around the room.
I will do what I can to fix this issue. For now, however, you can correctly assume that the 5 of you are all demons and can fight with your incubus abilities.
With a cold glare, Diana locked eyes with Sam as she spoke. Zero, who had only just entered the room, stepped behind Diana to add her intimidation.
And if any of you dare step up to me and threaten me again, you will not live to see the final battle.
Okay. Sam moved his stance, sudden anger flashing through his expression, before Carrie grabbed hold of his arm and pulled him back down to sit beside her. Diana closed her eyes and took a breath before crossing her arms and regaining her professional composure. The air was filled with anxious irritation, but we had to let it go for now. We would hash everything out at a later time, but for now we had to focus on what was going to bring me and Damien home. Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, you all obviously need to train.
Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked to me.
You, most of all.
Huh? Me? I was suddenly confused. How come I was the odd one out that had to be ready the most? The last thing I remembered about me training was that Diana was against the idea altogether. Diana sighed and rubbed her temple.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the demon lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
That sucks. That makes no sense. Where did you learn this?
Shadow. He spent the night trying to find alternative ways to break your curse. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything of the sort, but we found the guidelines to breaking it.
Well, it still makes no sense.
Even while it doesn't, it's still better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to kill him and then still have you stuck here because of an error.
I could only sigh and take it in, so I had to be there when the demon lord fell. Great. Diana waved her hand dismissively through the air, breaking my potential thoughts.
Anyway, we can't have you dying on the way there, and we can't monitor you when we're in battle. You should at least know how to defend yourself. That's why we've come up with a solution.
Huh? What solution?
Simple. The other rebel leaders and Sero have agreed that if you'd like a trainer to enhance your abilities, you can train with one of them.
I stared, seeing Zero step forward with a nod.
Each of the leaders is proficient in a different area of magic and battle strategy, good enough for self-defense. I can't speak for the others, but I can assure you that with Sero's skill and training methods, you will be well prepared by the time the siege arrives.
But I kinda don't want to get close to your boothing. Zero nodded and bowed to me slightly. While I was flattered at the idea, did I really need a trainer? I knew Taekwondo, and I at least knew how to defend myself, with demon or not. Then again, we were in the demon world where magic was the norm. I like to train with Zero, or what would the others teach me? I don't need a trainer. What would the others teach me? Don't want to touch your boothing. Diana ran a hand through her hair, looking at the side as she listed off each leader and their skills.
Sergeant is a brute demon, bred from a nomadic tribe. He most likely teach you the ways of the brute demon, using your fists and speed to keep you alive. Shadow is, by definition, a shadow demon, so he'd probably teach you about dark magic, light manipulation, and assassination. Rabbit is a wild magic-based animal demon, using her animal-focused energy as her weapon. She'd probably teach you how to do the same. Fae? I am honestly not sure. I know they can change their size and use elemental magic as well, but to be honest, I do not know what they would teach you.
Oh my god. Does choosing this even do anything? What if I don't want a trainer? Like, what happens if I pick that? Would I be, like, screwed? Because I obviously don't think my skills would work. But I'm pretty sure Settle is, like, obviously the top choice. But I've been really interested in Shadow. So, the thing is, since this game is still new, there's no guides. And I don't want to cheat since it's like my first run through. So let's choose Shadow. Diana nodded. Shadow seemed very intelligent and knew the ins and outs of being sneaky and dodgy. It would definitely help in battle not to get hit and maybe take enemies by surprise. With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room. Because I don't want to mess with Settle. I feel like if we mess with him, it's going to mess up with Diana.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
I mean, Settle is cute looking too. Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation as Diana and Settle left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
Damien, you should have put a shirt on.
This'll be fun.
Man, training's gonna suck.
It'll be worth it, though.
No.
Damien's right.
As we all finished eating, everyone left to either train or do things on their own. I left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him. Showing Shadow defied... itchy eye. Anyway, choosing Shadow defied almost every part of my moral compass. He seemed like a fantastical sociopath, lacking a care for anyone but the warden himself. Still, I had to admit his personality made me curious about his abilities. After all, he was the one that almost sent me back home through Diana's shadow. As the memory of the void filled my thoughts, I began to try and dissect how it was done. Were Shadow's doorways here? Was Shadow just that powerful? How exactly was he able to a person's shadow into a void through the world? Maybe that was the reason why I chose him as my trainer. My curiosity about his abilities were pecking at me and I needed answers. Learning some of those abilities myself was just the icing on the cake. I was guided to the library by a scout, most likely under orders, and followed Shadow reading through scrolls on the table near the fireplace. Upon me entering, Shadow looked over.
Ah, there you are. Come, sit.
Cool. Shadow motioned a hand towards one of the seats, almost dismissively as he continued to pore over what he was reading. I followed his direction and sat down in a chair, watching him. For a full minute he said nothing. I watched as he read each line off of the scroll before him and occasionally switched scrolls to read what the others had written down on them. The handwriting was in hastily scribbled Latin, so there was no way for me to understand it. However, I began to feel a bit agitated. Weren't we supposed to be training? Excuse me? I needed to get his attention. This was a little ridiculous. Was he not told that he was supposed to actually train me? Why would he expect me, though? Despite my statement, Shadow continued to ignore me and kept browsing through the scrolls on the table. Shadow? Still nothing. I was becoming even more agitated at the silence. I decided to simply stand up, hopefully to catch his attention. However, as I attempted to, I felt myself unable to push off against the chair, like I was stuck to the seat. Huh? I looked down at the chair I was in. It was a simple chair. How was I stuck? I wiggled a bit in my seat, noting that I wasn't sitting on anything sticky, nor was anything keeping me down physically. What the hell? I attempted to stand up once more, unable to move any farther than a centimeter up from the seat before needing to sit back down.
Do you understand now, human?
No. I looked up at Shadow, seeing him continue to visually ignore me, but noticed a small smirk on his lips. But he was holding me down somehow.
When you can stand, we will begin.
You mother. My eyes widened. This was a test. This was an unfair trap of a test that I fell into, and now I had to find my way out. I had to figure out how he was trapping me to the chair and stand. Through gravity, of course. This was going to be an adventure and a half. I looked down and ran around my body on the seat, seeing my shadow beneath me. It was pretty obvious that he was using my shadow to hold me down, but the question was, how was I going to break its hold? Let's go towards the hobble over to the fireplace. Let's do that. I took a moment and let my thoughts dissect the problem. He was holding me by the shadow. He had to have been. It's only made sense. If I somehow made my shadow disappear, then its hold would vanish along with it. However, how was I going to do that? My shadow was beneath me, formed by the shape of my body with the firelight. Then it hit me. The firelight. I looked at the fireplace, seeing it burn bright from the pyre within its mouth. It illuminated the room and gave every person and object a shadow. As I stared into it, my plan became set. I smirked as I gripped the armrest and planted my feet onto the floor. I pulled the chair up onto one of its legs, pushing out the ground with my foot, and completely turned the chair around, facing away from it. My entire body became covered in shadow, but I knew my plan had worked. I no longer felt a hold on me, keeping me in the chair. My shadow vanished in the new darkness around me. I quickly pushed off of the chair, finally being able to stand. It seemed so freeing to be able to stand it again, having been trapped in that chair. As I felt my body standing up straight, Shadow let out an impressed
Quicker than I anticipated.
See, I'm so smart, well, except like she did the easier way. I glared. Did he honestly think that little of me? Seriously? I had to stare at Shadow like he had 5 heads. As he turned to me, he smirked at my facial expression, causing me to fight back the urge to snap at him.
I had to see how intelligent you were. I'm not going to waste time on someone who doesn't know how to use their brain.
Despite the insult, I could feel that he was underhandedly complimenting me in some twisted way. I guess what I was able to pull out of his statement was that I was smart enough to fend for myself. I could tell that he was going to be both an annoying process, but at least an interesting one. Shadow shook his head and stepped away from the table and towards me. He gripped the chair I was on and turned it back around to face the fireplace before crossing his arms.
What I will be teaching you are mere basics of dark magic. You will be able to hide in plain sight, control your environment, and even defend against impossible odds. I expect you to use these abilities wisely. Understood?
Yep. I suddenly became excited. I would be able to do all of these things. The idea of it all became rather fascinating and outright too good to be true. However, I was in the demon world. Anything was possible. I nodded and mentally prepared for whatever he threw in my way. I wouldn't fall for another trap. Shadow took in a breath and let out a silent sigh before closing his eyes. His body slowly became pitch black, covered by a wave of shadow, despite the firelight on his body. His form slowly melted down into the ground and faded into the shadow of the table beside him. What? I became confused, but as I stood for a moment, there was only silence as a reply. Was this what he meant by using my brain? I had to copy him? How did he even do that? How was I going to even start trying? You're not going to tell me how you did that? I was once again greeted with silence, making me let out a sigh. I had to figure it out. I replayed the spell in my head from memory, trying to discern how he made himself into a shadow. Maybe I had to think about becoming a shadow. Did that even make sense? I closed my eyes and tried to imagine darkness covering me. As stupid as it sounded, it was worth a shot. However, as I did, something in my nerves seemed to make me hesitate. I could sense a feeling of cold dread try and take over my body as I thought about the darkness. Was this something I was supposed to feel? I felt suddenly scared and started to second-guess my desire to learn about dark magic.
Why are you hesitating?
I heard Shadow's voice rumble through the air, causing me to question the training. Did I want to go through with this? Yes. Gotta do it. This is gonna be the best way to fight this guy, the Demon Lord. We can hide away from him. I shook my head. I needed to be brave about this. It was a new set of skills I could use in battle. I just had to take it slow. I closed my eyes again, took a deep breath, and focused on becoming a shadow. A cold feeling ran through my body, crawling over my skin and completely enveloping me in its embrace. Soon my entire body had become surrounded in frozen numbness. Whoa! As I opened my eyes, I gasped at the sight. Shadow was once again in front of me, but the room around us became visibly dark and misty, like I was in another world. My body felt light as I stepped towards my trainer in confusion. Shadow lifted an arm and gestured dismissively around us towards the environment.
Welcome to the Shadow Plane.
The shadow plane?
Indeed, think of it as a copy of the real world. But no one lives here except shadows.
That's sad. I furrowed my eyebrows too confused, but gasped as I heard quick footsteps rushing outside of the door. I was shocked to see demons in black hoods and cloaks running back and forth along the hall. What the hell?
Those are my scouts. They use this plane to travel without being hindered by other beings. They're much quicker this way.
I looked at the ground, seeing it coated completely black in darkness. How was I able to be here if this was a new plane? I thought I was trapped in the demon world. How can I be here if I'm cursed?
This plane is part of the demon world, so the curse does not affect you coming here. We are currently shadows of the real world, untouchable and barely traceable.
Uh-huh. I nodded, taking in what he was saying, so I was able to roam around and not be seen. That was an interesting power. Shadow began to walk out of the room, ushering me to follow him.
Come, you will see the benefit of this world in action.
I quickly followed, excited to see what we were going to do. Where would we go? What was he going to show me? Shadow and I walked quietly through the halls. I could faintly see the outlines of people who were not in the shadow plane and became shocked to see Shadow simply pass through them as if they weren't there. As a couple of people passed through me, I felt instinctively strange, but physically felt nothing. It was like I was a ghost. We truly were shadows. As we arrived at the war room, Shadow stopped me and peered inside. I crouched and looked through the door as well, hiding out of instinct. Inside were Diana and a person covered by a cloak. Diana's face painted the situation's emotion, and very clearly as one of the agitation towards the girl who stood before her attention.
Shama, I understand that he didn't accept it, but where did you take it?
I was told to throw it away.
Your master told you to throw it away?
As I said, ma'am.
Diana gazed at the hooded figure, bearing her stare into her soul. However, Diana could only sigh. What was Diana asking about? What did the figure throw away?
Very well. You are dismissed.
The demon bowed and left the room, passing through me in shadow. It still felt weird that people were able to go through me, but I shook it out as Shadow cleared his throat.
Scare the succubus.
What? I looked up at Shadow, surprised at his demand. However, his cold gaze pierced back into mine, letting me know that he was serious about what he has asked of me. I instinctively became nervous and a little fearful. I had to scare Diana? How? The idea of peering behind her came to my mind, but Shadow seemed to know what I was thinking.
Scare her from this plane.
Now things became complicated. This was a space where I was just walking through people. How was I going to even faze her in this world? I looked into the room, taking note of everything. The light of the room was pretty bright. Her shadow was casting against the wall, mimicking Diana's actual movement. Was I able to do anything with that? What about the light in the room? Was it possible to dim the lights like a ghost? It seemed a bit complicated, but it could be fun. It took a moment to think about before deciding. Mess with her shadow. It seemed like the most simple plan, so I decided to go through with it. I quickly rushed in and hugged the wall next to Diana's shadow. With a closer view, the shadow seemed almost as detailed as the real person. Every strand of hair had a pigment of darkness. It was kind of cool the more I stared, but I had a job to do. I focused on her head, noting the horns protruding from it. The shadow made it look like she had ears. Fairly cute. Maybe that could do something. I raised a hand and ran through my fingers along the horns of her shadow, hoping to grasp it somehow. Suddenly I shot my head to Diana. She released a moan. She bent over the table, gripping the horn I caressed via shadow with a slightly shaky hand. What the hell? Did I do that? Diana looked around, her face as red as a tomato. Were her horns a weakness? I grazed my fingers along her shadow over her other horn out of curiosity. Diana gripped her other horn and bent over further, hiding her horns in her shadow. Damn! However, I became mildly excited. I could touch her without touching her. This made no sense, but it was working. I could only guess that this was the power of shadow demons. Diana stood up straight, taking a breath before letting out a sigh.
Dear, I know you're there.
What the hell? How did she know? As shadow switched to the real world, I felt my body force itself back as well. Like I had run out of energy. I finally felt warm consume my body, making me feel dizzy and lightheaded. What?
She's done quite well. She went into the shadow plane without much hesitation.
I see.
I naturally hugged the wall, thinking the after effects of the transfer dance over my body like rippling waves of wind. It felt so strange. I knew I still had a lot of energy, but I wasn't able to stay in the shadow plane for long. And this is where we are going to stop. We're just basically messing around, being a shadow, which is kind of cool in a way. Kind of depressed because we're not doing much with Damien's side of the story. I don't know if we are gonna focus more on Damien's side of the story. Maybe in the future, who knows? I'm assuming right now we're just focused on the war, so not much of love action going on. And I believe she also said there's not going to be a lot of coupley action since it was in the first season. But that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.